Hello viewers, the topic for discussion is one pass microprocessor algorithm and data structures. Overview: two pass microprocessor in which all macro definitions are processed during pass 1, that means first pass, and all macro invocations statement are processed during second pass. Such a two pass microprocessor would not allow, remember that, would not allow the body of one macro instruction contain definitions of other macros. That means when I am using two pass microprocessor, in that case, if I am writing here a macro and the name of that macro is, suppose that rdbuf. Inside that I cannot define another macro. Suppose that inside this macro I cannot define wrbuf macro. Why it is required to us? Suppose that we know that there are two machines, SIC and SIC-XC, and there is read and write statement are also present. That means I am writing a macro for reading and writing the data from one device, from any device, and the name of that macro is in this case read and write. There are two macro in this. Here also there are two macro for reading and writing, read, another is write, in this case also. Now suppose that I have written a macro, the name of that macro is the name of that macro is macro SIC macro. Inside that I have written two macros. The first macro is read macro, another macro is write macro, and in the same I have written, there are two macros. One is this one, macro SIC, another is for SIC-XC. I have written macro SIC-XC macro. Inside that also I have written read macro, another macro is write macro. Now when I am writing any program, if I just want to that program can run in SIC as well as SIC-XC. That means what? I have to call these macros, either this one or this one. If our machine is SIC, in that case this macro will be called. If our machine is SIC-XC, in that case this macro will be called. Now you can see here, when I have written a macro SIC-XC, there are two macros inside this macro, and here also there are two macros inside this macro. So in that case, if in SIC or SIC-XC I want to use read and write macro, so I have to only invoke this macro SIC. When we invoke macro SIC, we will get these two macros. But when I am using two pass microprocessor, in that case I cannot define a macro inside macro, because the reason is what? All macros would have to be defined during the first pass before any macro invocation were expanded. And just note down that inner macro definitions are processed only when an invocation statement occurs. If I had written like this one, macro SIC, and inside that I had defined two macro read and write, then read and write will be processed at the time of invocation only. So in first pass I cannot define read and write. And what is 2-pass microprocessor? In 2-pass microprocessor, all definitions are processed during first pass and invocation during second pass. But when I am using macro inside macro, in that case I cannot define a macro that is defined inside any macro before getting the invocation statement. That's why here I am considering 1-pass microprocessor, because this problem will be resolved in 1-pass microprocessor. In what we will do in 1-pass microprocessor? When I am getting any macro definition like this one, invocation statement, in that case I am defining this one. And when I am getting another macro invocation, in that case I am just going to the definition and find out the definition of that macro and put that definition in place of the invocation statement. In this way the procedures will be called and we can process by using the 1-pass microprocessor. 1-pass microprocessor. Prerequisite: every macro must be defined before it is invoked. What are the sub procedures that are used to deal with this problem? Define, expand, and there is one more sub procedure that is known as process line. You can see here in this figure. When the process line procedure will be called, in that case is first see that is the macro definition or not. If that is macro definition, then define procedure will be called and it will maintain two data structure, name tab and def tab. We will discuss in the further slide about the name tab, def tab and arg tab. When in process line procedure any macro invocation statement occur, in that case expand procedure will be called and this procedure maintain arg tab. In this way these procedures will be called at that when these are required at the time processor at the processing or you can say at the time of processing of that program. Def tab, it is known as definition table. Macro definitions are stored in def tab. That means when I am getting any macro definition, that will be saved into def tab. It contains the macro prototype and the statement that make up the macro body. That means in the def tab what we will maintain? We will just maintain the macro prototype, that means the first statement, and the statement that make up the macro body. Comment lines from the macro definitions are not entered into def tab because these comment lines are not processed by the assembler or you can say compiler. That's why I just remove this comment line. Name tab, name table, or it is known as name tab. Macro names are entered into name tab. We will just maintain a table. The name of that table is name tab. And in this table, we will just maintain the name of that macro. Suppose that the name of that macro is rdbuff. And we will also maintain two pointers here. First pointer, suppose that there is a def tab, and the macro prototype is rdbuff, and the parameters are f1 and suppose that n% indev and %out. There are two parameters only. And after this, there is a body of this macro that comes in def tab. So these pointers are used to maintain the start and end of the macro in the def tab. That means these pointers are used to just find out where the definition of that macro start, and second pointer is used to find out where the definition of that macro end. That's why it is written here. Contains the pointer to the beginning and end of the definition in def tab. Third one is ARG tab, that is known as argument table. It is used during the expansion of macro invocations. What we will do here? Suppose that you have invoked this macro rdbuff and the parameters are passed f1 and 05. F1 and 05. In ARG tab, what we will maintain? At the first place, we will just put F1 and second place, we will just put 05. When it is required during the just processing the definition, these parameters are taken from here. F1 becomes first parameter in and 05 becomes out. When a macro invocation statement is recognized, the arguments are stored in ARG tab according to their position in argument list. That means F1 comes first and then 05 comes second. During the expansion of macro, the arguments from ARG tab are substituted for the corresponding parameters in macro body. These are substituted in corresponding parameters of the macro body. Algorithm. Our macro processor algorithm start from here. You can see here there is a flag expanding. It is used to just find out that we are in define or we are in expanding, or we are expanding the macro or we are defining the macro. First I had to just assign it false. That means we are not expanding the macro. While opcode not equal to end. Begin. When we will get opcode equal to end? At the end of the program. You can see here. At the end of the program. Get line. We have to go to the process get line. This one. Procedure get line. Begin. If expanding. That means if expanding is true. In that case we have to do this one. But here expanding is false. What we have to do? Else read next line from input file. Read next line from input file. What is that line? This one. Copy start 0. Then just come here. You will get another procedure process line. Your control will come to here and the next procedure is process line. You have to go to the process line. This one. What is that? Search name tab for opcode. What does it mean? When we will get this? When we will get, if I have got the macro definition first here and that macro definition has been entered in the def tab, and the name of the macro is inserted into the name tab. What is the name of the macro here? rdbuff. So it will be inserted here rdbuff, and there are two pointers here, and in the def tab you will get the definition of the macro, and these are the pointers just pointing the start and end of the macro in the def tab. Search name tab for opcode, and you can see at the time of invocation of the macro I am getting the name of the macro in the op tab field. So when we will get the invocation statement, then this will be true. We will just found if found, that means when we will get the invocation statement, then we will get that macro name in the name tab. In that case we have to expand, but here it is not the case. Else if opcode equal to macro, no, it is not macro, it is start. You can see here. Write source line to expanded file. That means just write this line into the expanded file. What we are getting output of the macro processor. Now we will come to here. Opcode not equal to end. Then go to get line. We have to come here get line. Expanding is false. That means we have to come here else part. Read next line from the input file. That is what? You can see this line. Read next line from the input file. That is what? rdbuf macro, this one. Now we have to come to the process line. This one. Search name tab for opcode. It is not present. It is not present at this time. Else if opcode equal to macro, here yes, opcode equal to macro. Then go to the procedure define. Then go to the procedure define. Now you can see the define procedure. This one. Define procedure. Enter macro name in name tab. What is the name of that macro? rdbuf. This will be entered into the name tab. You can see here. Enter macro prototype in def tab. What is the prototype of macro? Name of the macro and parameters. This has been entered into the def tab. You can see here. This has been entered into the def tab. Level equal to 1. I have assigned the level as 1. Why it is I am using here the level? The purpose of level is what? Suppose that there is a macro. Suppose that there is a macro M1. Inside this there is another macro M2. Then I am getting a mend statement for the M2. Then I am getting mend statement for M1. Now level is used for what? When I am getting first macro, level becomes 1. When I am getting first macro here, level become 1. When I am getting another macro here, level is increased by 1. It becomes now 2. When I am getting first mend, it decreased by 1. When I am getting second mend, decreased by 1. That means it becomes 0. So I am just checking that just like in a arithmetic statement, our task is to check that the parentheses are balanced or not. Here I am just checking that corresponding every macro, is there any mend statement or not. For that purpose I am using here level. While level is greater than 0, do get line. What is the purpose of get line? Just read the next line. That is what? Clear X. Because expanding is false now. Clear X. If this is not a comment line, this is not a comment line. Substitute positional notations for parameters. What does it mean? Positional parameters, that means there is no parameter here. When we will get that any parameter, in that case we can discuss. But if you want to see here, positional parameters means what? What is the position of indev? Here you can see from this statement, here indev is used. Indev, position of indev is first. So in place of %, indev, what will be written? Question mark 1. Question mark 1. Here question mark is just taken as to find out the position of that parameter only. Just remember that this is for notation only, and that is what the meaning of this one is. What? When we will access this parameter, what does that parameter is? First parameter, and the first parameter is indev. Enter line in def tab. That line has been entered here. Clear X. If opcode equal to macro, then level, just increase the value of level. Else if opcode equal to mend, then decrease the level. Now I have to come here. Level is greater than 0. Yes. Get line. Next line just read down. Clear A. It will be written here. In this way, this will be written here. Clear S. Clear S. This will be written here. This one. Now in this case, TD equal to and % indev. You know that indev is at first position in the parameter. So in place of and % indev, what will be written? Question mark 1. So that's why it is written here. TD equal to X question mark 1 by using this statement. The next statement is JEQ asterisk -3. It will be written here. Next statement is RD equal to X and % indev. Indev is first parameter, so it is written here question mark 1. This has been completed. Compare A comma S. This is written here. JEQ plus 11 asterisk plus 11. This is written here. STCH and % buff ADR comma X. What is the position of buff ADR? Second. So it is written here question mark 2 comma X. TIXRT, it is written. JLT asterisk minus 19, so it is written here. STX and percent record length. What is the position of record length? That is third, so it is written here question mark 3. Now I am getting mend, so this macro has been completed. This definition has been completed, and what we have to do? Store in name tab pointers to beginning and end of the definition. Beginning is this one, end is this one. And you can see here, when I am getting macro, level is increased by 1. When I am getting mend, level is decreased by 1. So level becomes 0. We will go outside of this loop. Then we will see store name tab pointers to beginning and end of the definition. Now I have to come here now. It has been completed. Opcode equal to macro, I have got that, and I have completed this one. Now after this we have to come to here, not equal to end. What we have to do? First we have to do get line. Expanding is false now also. That means we have to go here, read next line from input file. That is what? First STLRET area. Then we have to come to process line. Process line. Name tab, search name tab for opcode, search name tab for opcode. We are not getting in the name tab. We are not getting this opcode in the name tab. You can see here the opcode is STL. So I am not getting here. I am not getting here. Now I have to check that if found in then expand, but else if opcode equal to macro. This is not macro here also. Else write source line to expanded file. That means we have to write this line in the expanded file now. Now after this we will come to here, opcode not equal to end. Then go to get line, read next line input line. That is what? C loop rdbuff f1 comma buffer comma length. Then we have to go to the process line. Search name tab for opcode. Now I will get this opcode in the name tab because it has been defined already. If found, then go to expand. That means we have to go to the expand procedure. You can see here. Begin expanding equal to true. First make it as true. Get first line of macro definition from the def tab. What is that? Prototype of the macro. Set up argument from the macro invocation in ARG tab. What are those parameters? F1 buffer length, F1 buffer length 1 2 3, and this is the first line which has been written here. Before that copy start 0 will be written here. Copy start 0. Now the next point is while macro invocation to expand, write macro invocation to expanded file as comment. It will be written as a comment in the expanded file. While not end of macro definition, do get line. Now expanding is true. You can see here. Now we have to come to the get line. Expanding is true. Yes. Get next line of macro definition from def tab. Substitute argument from ARG tab for positional notation. That means now I have to go to the def tab. This one. Next line. This one. And if there is any parameter, substitute that parameter from the ARG tab, but there is no parameter, so it will be same. Now it has been completed get line. Now I have to come to the process line. Now go to the process line. You can see here. Search name tab for opcode. I have got what? Clear. So this one clear A in the def tab. Clear X in the def tab. And opcode is clear. So it will be not found. Opcode is macro. No. Write source line to expanded file. So clear X will be written here. So it is written here clear X. In this way you will complete it while not end of the macro definition. Then you will go to get line. Just go to the get line. Expanding is true. Macro, next line from the macro definition, that means you will read from the def tab. That is what? Clear A. There is no parameter, so this clear A will be written in the expanded file. This. Next, you will go to the get line. This one. Read the next line of the macro definition. That is what? Clear S. This one. And this clear S, there is no parameter. So when you will go to the process line, what will be that? Just write this line into the expanded file. In this way, this will be written. But when you come to the TD equal to XF1, this TD statement, you can see in that case, you will go to the get line. Get next line from the macro definition. That is what? This one. TD equal to X question mark 1. And you will just replace this question mark 1 from the ARG tab. What is that? F1. So here what will be written? TD equal to X F1. And in this way you will just process, or you can say this algorithm will run, and whole macro definition with the parameter with the substitution of parameter will occur here, and after that all statements that are present in the program, main program, that will be written here. Thank you so much for viewing this lecture.